Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on something that's, the absolute bedrock of any good education, whether you're a student or a teacher. We're talking about learning outcomes. Think of them as the secret blueprint that can make or break a course.
So, have you ever been there? You're sitting in a class, maybe you've just started an online course, and you just feel kind of lost? Like, what am I really supposed to be getting out of all this? Yeah, you're definitely not alone. It's chaos without a clear destination, right? But what if there was a roadmap?
Well, guess what? There is, and it's called a learning outcome. You could think of it like a promise, really, a promise from the instructor to you, the student. It's not just a list of topics they're going to cover. No, it's a super clear, measurable statement about what you will actually be able to do when it's all said and done. This is the roadmap we've been waiting for. So let's dive into how these things actually work. We're going to keep using this idea of a blueprint, because that's exactly what they are. A solid structure for the whole learning experience. Okay, so the real power, the magic of these things is consistency. Learning outcomes get everyone on the same page. The students, the instructors, even the school administrators. They're the thread connecting what you do in just one class to the bigger picture of your entire degree, making sure every single piece of the puzzle fits together perfectly. And it's all built on this really cool tiered system. Think of it like a funnel. Way up at the top, you've got these big, broad, college-wide outcomes. The core skills every single graduate should walk away with. Then, that gets narrowed down into program outcomes, the specific skills you need for, say, an engineering degree or a nursing degree. And finally, that funnels all the way down to these super specific, actionable outcomes for every single course you take. It's this awesome journey from general skills to real, focused expertise. Okay, so now we know what they are and why they're so important. But how do you actually write one? How do you build one of these powerful little statements? Well, it turns out there's a surprisingly simple three-part formula. Right, so every great learning outcome has these three basic parts. First, you need an action verb. That's what the student will do. It has to be something you can see. Second, the learning statement. That's the what of it all, the actual content. And third, the purpose or condition. That gives you the why or the how. So just remember, verb, what, why. That's it. Simple. Let's look at one in the wild. Students will be able to analyze a historical document to identify the author's primary arguments. Okay, let's break it down. What's the action verb? Analyze. Yep, it's active. You can measure it. What's the learning statement? A historical document. And the purpose? To identify the author's primary arguments. See? This tells you exactly what the goal is. There's no guesswork, no ambiguity. You know precisely what you need to do. Now, let's zoom in on that first part, the action verb. This is, and I'm not kidding, the most critical piece of the puzzle. Picking the right verb is what gives an outcome all its power and precision. Because let me tell you, not all verbs are created equal. The whole key here is to pick a verb that matches the level of thinking you're aiming for. I mean, are you just supposed to remember a fact? Or are you being asked to create something totally new from scratch? Big difference, right? Well, thankfully, there's a famous framework that makes this distinction totally clear. And that framework is the famous Bloom's taxonomy. It's basically a ladder of thinking skills. It lays out the whole journey, starting with the basics like just remembering facts. Then you climb up to understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, all the way to the very top, which is creating something brand new. A really well-designed course will use verbs that actually walk you up this ladder, pushing you toward that higher level thinking. So now that we have all the pieces, the three components, and this awesome level-up framework, the difference between a really helpful learning outcome and a totally useless one becomes like crystal clear. Let's put them side by side and you'll see what I mean. The difference is, well, it's simple, but it's profound. Weak outcomes use these fuzzy, vague verbs like know or understand. I mean, seriously, how do you measure if someone understands something? You can't. Strong outcomes, on the other hand, use those specific active verbs we just talked about from Bloom's. And here's another big one. Weak outcomes talk about what the teacher is going to do. Strong outcomes are all about what you, the student, will be able to do. So, here it is. Here's your mental checklist. A really strong, powerful learning outcome is always going to be concise and specific. It's focused on the student, and most importantly, this is the big one, it's observable and measurable. Because if you can't see it or measure it, how can anyone grade it fairly? They can't. And that's just a weak foundation for learning, period. Okay, so the big question is, why? Why go through all this trouble to craft these perfect little sentences? What's the real payoff here? Well, it's simple. It's all about creating a clear path to success for absolutely everyone involved. And this is a true win-win situation. For the instructors, clear outcomes are a godsend. They help them figure out what content is most important and design tests that are actually fair because they're tied directly to the goals. And for students, the benefit is just pure, beautiful clarity. You know exactly what the target is, so you know where to focus your energy and how to study smart. When you get right down to it, learning outcomes are the glue. They're the essential glue that holds an entire curriculum together. They make sure that what's being taught, how it's being learned, and how it's being tested are all perfectly aligned. And that creates a system that's transparent, that's fair, and most importantly of all, that actually works. So I'll leave you with this thought. Whether you're an educator designing a course or a student taking one, just think about it. How would your world change? How would your learning or your teaching be different if every single goal was laid out with this kind of crystal clarity right from day one?